been lied to, not by the world, by you. For years, you've been walking around with a version of yourself that you didn't even choose. It was shaped by opinions, past failures, rejection, silence, and your own unchallenged thoughts. But today, we rip the mask off. Because this, right here, this moment will change the way you see yourself forever. Not because of motivation, because of truth. You've probably heard people say you have to love yourself first or believe in yourself, and maybe even felt frustrated because honestly, it feels like believing in yourself is easier said than done. The real reason why you struggle with self-belief is not because you lack potential or talent. It's because the way you see yourself, your self-image, is not a fixed thing handed down to you by some magical force. It's something you've been building unconsciously every single day, and it might be based on outdated or false information. Think of your self-esteem as the story you keep telling yourself about who you are. It's a mental narrative that guides how you act, what you believe you're capable of, and how you respond to challenges. And here's the kicker. This story is not necessarily true. It's just a story. Yet, because you repeat it so often in your mind, sometimes louder than anyone else's voice, it starts to feel like an unchangeable fact. When you look in the mirror, you don't just see your reflection. You see a version of yourself filtered through years of memories, experiences, judgments, and voices that told you who you should be or who you actually are. This internal dialogue is usually automatic and repetitive. It could be thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I always mess things up, I'm too shy, or I'm not smart enough. These phrases might sound like facts, but they are really just stories you've accepted as true. These stories are often handed to us early on. Maybe they came from a teacher who doubted your abilities, a parent who criticized you, or a friend who betrayed your trust. Or they came from moments when you failed or felt embarrassed. Over time, these moments compound and form a self-image that feels impossible to break free from. But here's the most important truth. Your self-peace is not carved in stone. It's not permanent. It's not who you are deep down or your ultimate identity. It's simply a collection of beliefs that your mind has learned to repeat, like a song stuck on loop. And because your brain likes familiarity, it prefers to run on these old stories even if they hurt you or limit you. This is why changing your self-peace is challenging. It's unfamiliar territory for your brain. Now imagine this. If your self-peace is just a story, then it's also a story you can rewrite. You have the power to create a new script that serves you better. The first step to doing this is awareness. You have to become aware of the story you're telling yourself. Start paying attention to your internal dialogue. Notice the words you say in your mind when you face setbacks or new opportunities. Are these words supportive or critical? Are they rooted in fear or possibility? Once you recognize these stories, you can begin to question them. Ask yourself, is this really true? Where is the evidence? Most of the time, you'll find these limiting beliefs don't hold up under scrutiny. Maybe you've succeeded at things before that prove you're capable. Maybe you've surprised yourself with courage or kindness in the past. You need to gather these pieces of evidence and use them as building blocks for a new story. Rewriting your self-pitch means consciously choosing new beliefs about yourself. Instead of, I'm not good enough, you might decide, I am learning and growing every day. Instead of, I always fail, try, I fail sometimes, but failure is part of my progress. These aren't empty affirmations if you back them up with consistent actions. Every time you take a step toward what you want, even if it's uncomfortable, you reinforce this new story. Your brain begins to rewire itself and create new neural pathways that support a stronger, more confident you. This process doesn't happen overnight. The old story is familiar and comfortable, even if it holds you back, so your brain will resist the change. You might find yourself slipping back into old patterns, doubting your new beliefs, or feeling like an imposter. That's normal. Change requires repetition, patience, and persistence. It's like learning a new language or training a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger the new story becomes. It's also important to surround yourself with people and environments that support your new self-picture. If you keep spending time with those who reinforce your old story, it will be harder to change. Seek out mentors, friends, or communities who see your potential and encourage your growth. Their belief in you will help you believe in yourself. Remember, your self-picture controls the way you move through the world. It affects your decisions, your relationships, your work, and your happiness. If your story says, "I'm not worthy," you will unconsciously avoid opportunities, sabotage success, or settle for less than you deserve. But if your story changes to, "I am worthy and capable," your whole life can shift. Ultimately, rewriting your self-pitch is about reclaiming your power. It's about refusing to be limited by the past, by other people's opinions, or by your own fears. It's about stepping into the person you were always meant to be, not someone else's version of you, but your authentic self. You don't have to wait for a big event or external validation to start this change. The moment you decide to see yourself differently, your self-picture begins to shift. Every small choice you make towards self-respect and self-belief rewrites your story. And with each rewrite, you come closer to living a life that truly reflects your potential. So if you want to change the way you see yourself, stop treating your current self-pigeon as the final word. It's just a story you can change anytime you're ready. And when you do, you won't just see yourself differently, you'll live differently. Because the story you tell yourself today creates the life you live tomorrow. That voice inside your head, you know the one that comments on everything you do, judges every move, and sometimes whispers doubts and fears when you least expect it. That voice can feel like an unshakable truth, like the absolute reality of who you are. But here's something you need to understand right now. That voice is not reality. It is not fact. It is simply a habit your brain has built over time. A loop of thoughts you've listened to so often that it feels like an undeniable truth. The reason this voice seems so powerful is because your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what you imagine. It reacts to your thoughts as if they're facts, and so you end up living your life reacting to a story you tell yourself, sometimes without even realizing it. Imagine how different your life could be if you started questioning the voice in your head rather than obeying it blindly. What if you treated those negative thoughts like someone else's opinion instead of your own reality? Let's break down why that voice sounds so convincing. The brain's job is to keep you safe. It's wired to notice threats, risks, and problems. So it scans your surroundings constantly for anything that could hurt you, physically, emotionally, or socially. When it comes to your internal dialogue, it acts similarly. It flags anything unfamiliar, uncertain, or potentially dangerous in your life and translates that into doubt or worry. It's trying to protect you, but it often ends up limiting you instead. Here's the catch. Your brain's protection system was designed for a different kind of danger. It evolved to avoid lions, falling off cliffs, and other life or death threats. But now, it's reacting to a future meeting, a text you didn't get back, or a dream you want to chase. It doesn't understand the difference, so it throws up warning signs anyway. This internal voice, which we often call the inner critic, speaks from a place of fear, not truth. When that voice tells you you're not good enough or you'll fail, it's trying to stop you from stepping out into unknown territory. And while that might have helped your ancestors survive, today it can keep you stuck in the same place, replaying the same fears and sabotaging your own growth. But what if you could interrupt this pattern? What if you could start treating that voice like a faulty app or a glitch in your system that needs updating? The first step is awareness. You need to catch yourself when the voice starts talking. Listen carefully, not to get trapped in it, but to observe it from a distance. Instead of accepting, "I can't do this," try adding, "I'm noticing that my brain is saying I can't do this." That tiny shift creates space between you and the thought, and that space is where real choice begins. Next, challenge what the voice says. Don't just accept its claims, ask for evidence. If it says, "You'll fail," ask, "What proof do I have? Have I succeeded before? What do others say about my abilities?" Often you'll find the voice is baseless or exaggerating. Your brain is painting a worst-case scenario, not reporting facts. Also, consider the source of that voice. Many of these thoughts didn't originate with you. They come from past experiences, negative feedback from others, societal expectations, or even traumatic moments you never fully processed. Recognizing that the voice is a collection of old stories, not your own identity, frees you from its control. Another powerful way to change your internal dialogue is by deliberately replacing negative self-talk with positive, realistic statements. This isn't about lying to yourself or forcing false positivity, but about retraining your brain. For example, if your voice says, "I always mess things up," replace it with, "I'm learning and improving every day." Repeat these new truths consistently, especially when you feel doubt creeping in. Over time, these new habits weaken the grip of the old voice and build a new internal narrative, one that supports your growth instead of holding you back. This process requires patience because your brain loves what's familiar. You might feel resistance or even stronger negativity at first, but keep pushing through. You might be thinking, but what if the voice is right? What if I really can't do it? Here's where you have to separate your feelings from your facts. Just because you feel uncertain or scared doesn't mean the voice is correct. Feelings are temporary signals, not permanent verdicts. They tell you where your attention is needed, but don't define your potential. Remember, your mind is a tool, not your master. You get to choose which thoughts you feed and which ones you starve. The voice inside your head can be a coach, an ally, or a bully, but you get to decide the role it plays. Finally, surround yourself with external voices that support this new way of thinking. Find people who believe in your potential and speak words of encouragement. Read books, watch talks, and absorb messages that uplift rather than tear down. The more you fill your environment with positive influences, the easier it becomes to silence the negative internal voice. In the end, this voice will never completely disappear. It's part of being human. But by learning to recognize it for what it is, a habit, a survival mechanism, an old story, you reclaim your power. You create a life where your thoughts no longer control your actions, and instead, your actions build the reality you want. So next time that inner critic pipes up, don't run from it. Don't believe it without question. Stop, breathe, observe, and then challenge it with facts, compassion, and new stories. Because once you do, the way you see yourself will change forever and your life will follow. Most people walk around believing that confidence is something you either have or don't. They think it's a trait, something baked into your personality before you're even born. If you were lucky, you got a dose of it early on. If you weren't, well, you're stuck feeling unsure, anxious, and hesitant forever. That idea couldn't be further from the truth. Confidence is not a fixed quality you're born with or without. It's not a genetic lottery. Confidence is a skill, an ability that can be learned, practiced, and strengthened, just like learning to ride a bike, speak a language, or play an instrument. The way you build confidence is through action, repetition, and facing discomfort head-on, not by waiting around for some magical feeling to appear out of nowhere. Here's the brutal truth: confidence doesn't come before action. Most people think they have to feel confident to do something challenging, but that's backwards. You build confidence by doing the thing anyway. It's the act of moving forward despite fear, doubt, and uncertainty that creates the feeling of confidence. That feeling doesn't exist on its own, floating in some corner of your brain, waiting to be discovered. Confidence is forged in the arena of discomfort. Imagine this: you want to give a presentation at work. You feel nervous. Your heart races. Your mind fills with "what if I mess up" thoughts. You think, "I'm not confident enough yet." But if you wait until you feel 100% confident, you'll never start. Instead, the moment you stand up, speak, and face that fear, you're building a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger that muscle becomes, and over time, you stop avoiding the challenge. The feeling of confidence grows. Every confident person you see was once a beginner. They didn't wake up one day suddenly fearless. They showed up, made mistakes, stumbled, and kept going. They acted before they felt ready. That's the secret most people miss. They wait to feel good enough, ready enough, or qualified enough. But confidence is the byproduct of showing up and doing the work despite your feelings. The problem is, our brains love comfort and predictability. Fear and hesitation feel like safety signals because the unknown threatens our survival instincts. So when you start pushing yourself to do something new or scary, your brain fights back with doubt, procrastination, or "I'm not ready" excuses.